Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take a specific stack of sources and, really build a shortcut to genuine understanding for you.
And today we are heading out to sea.
We are. We're sailing into a true classic, Ernest Hemingway's novella, The Old Man and the Sea. But, and this is important, our deep dive isn't just about retelling Santiago's struggle.
No, not at all. Our sources today really center on one single, incredibly insightful piece of literary criticism. It's by Che-Cheng Chen, and it's called A Study of the Writing Technique and Major Theme.
And that's our focus.
That's right. I mean, Chen's analysis is so vital because he gives us a blueprint for why this story actually works. He moves so far beyond the surface narrative of, an old man fighting a big fish.
It's more of a forensic examination.
It is a close, almost scientific look at Hemingway's structure, his intention, and the profound philosophy, this idea of the undefeated soul that Hemingway built into every single line.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We'll use the story itself, Santiago's 84 days of bad luck and his epic voyage as context. But our spotlight is really going to be on Chen's rigorous breakdown. We want to understand what Chen argues elevates this, it's a very concise tale, into a masterpiece. We're talking about the ruthless precision of the writing style.
The layers of symbolism that make the sea so vast and meaningful.
And that enduring concept of heroism, the one that's rooted in dignity.
And really, Chen's core argument is that you just can't separate the technique from the theme. They're interdependent. He says the failure of past critics was even trying to prize one over the other.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Okay.
Chen's initial counter-argument. He actually spends a lot of time correcting scholars who he felt were, they were overemphasizing Hemingway's famous new simple technique.
Right. And while they were doing that, they were also downplaying or even, degrading the core themes or Santiago himself.
I've seen some of those early critiques. A lot of critics, right after the novella was published, they just focused on the stark, clean language.
The iceberg theory, yeah. They love that. But they dismissed Santiago's vigor. They suggested his character was maybe over-dramatized or even just an imitation.
The Captain Ahab comparison comes up a lot from Moby Dick.
It does. It's an easy comparison. But Chen argues it's a lazy one. He says focusing only on Hemingway's new, naive, and simple style completely misses the essential architecture of the work.
So how does Chen connect the style and the substance? He has this really powerful analogy that just grounds the whole discussion.
He does. The tree. He says you have to see the literary work as a tree, as an organic whole.
Okay.
The writing technique, the style, the simple words, the craft. He compares all of that to the green leaves or red flowers.
They're necessary for beauty, for the form.
Absolutely necessary for beauty, for getting your attention. But the theme, you see, the core idea, the strong central message, that's the trunk and roots.
And what happens if you look at them separately?
Well, a tree without leaves and flowers, it can't be beautiful. It has no appeal. But a tree without the trunk and roots, Chen says it will not be a live tree at all.
So his conclusion is pretty definitive then.
It is. A perfect literary work requires a parallel, rigorous exploration of both. If the critics degrade Santiago's central struggle, they're attacking the roots. The tree is dead before they even start looking at the branches.
Wow. That completely reframes the whole discussion, doesn't it? It's not just about what Hemingway wrote, but the necessity of that vigorous content for the simple style to even have any power.
Precisely. If Santiago's struggle were cheap or silly, the simple sentences would just sound hollow. But because the struggle is so genuine and profound, those simple sentences become universal.
All right, let's move on to the technique itself. Chen zeroes in on what he calls Hemingway's simple and plain style.
Yeah, and the book's opening is the perfect example. He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff, and he had gone 84 days without taking a fish.
So stark. Chen argues those first few phrases immediately imply a lone and sad world. It sets the entire tone with just absolute economy.
And this is where Chen's deep analysis really shines, because he didn't just read the book, he measured it. He actually gives us metrics on Hemingway's preference for short words and sentences to prove this simplicity was not an accident, it was a rigid discipline.
I love this part. It's almost like literary forensics. He cataloged the whole book.
He did. Chen found that of the 26,531 words in the entire novella, the overwhelming majority are short, common, direct. Hemingway was actively, you could say, policing his own vocabulary to keep the prose lean.
And why was it so important for Chen to, count the words?
Because he had to prove to these skeptical critics that Hemingway's simplicity was an intentional technical choice, a rigorous artistic application, not a sign of being superficial.
But there is that one moment of intentional dissonance, right? The one word that completely breaks the mold.
The famous outlier, phosphorescence, 15 letters long. Yeah. And Chan argues Hemingway used this word completely on purpose. It's so long, it forces you, the reader, to just stop and pause. It's an intentional anomaly that violates his own rule to emphasize a specific meaning in a critical moment.
It's like a spotlight on a single word.
And that spotlight is crucial,
Yeah.
because the real power comes from how these simple words are arranged. Chan emphasizes how Hemingway formed these little units into rhythmic, powerful statements.
You don't remember the complex sentences, you remember the simple ones.
Exactly. Like the lines that Chan highlights that basically define Santiago's entire philosophy. The core of his belief system is captured in that concise style.
Like man is not made for defeat.
And then the crucial refinement. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. Those simple, rhythmic sentences, they carry the novel's entire thematic weight.
And it's not just the language, is it? Chen also attributes the story's believability to Hemingway's professional descriptions.
Oh, absolutely. He points out that Hemingway did this kind of research rigorously. You see it in his nonfiction like Destiny Afternoon or Green Hills of Africa. He was obsessed with technical detail.
Because he wasn't just observing from a distance.
Not at all. Chen notes that Hemingway spent at least 15 years thinking about and perfecting this novel. That included time living and working among fishermen in the Cuban Gulf Stream. This immersion, for Chen, was essential to the craft.
He believed professional technique is, what was the quote?
The quickest and surest way of getting into the sensory universe.
And what does that sensory universe give to you as the reader?
It creates an undeniable reality, that technical detail. Knowing exactly how the lines are set, the specific way the marlin moves, the smell of the boat, it makes the story vivid. It forces you right into that skiff with Santiago.
So the simple language needs to be grounded in precise reality. Otherwise, it just floats away.
Exactly. It'd become too abstract. The expertise makes it real.
Okay, so now let's shift from that precision of technique to the concentration of meaning that Chen observes. Hemingway uses this deliberately simple composition.
Very simple. A few characters, a simple plot, and notably, almost no women.
Right. Chen points out that the only female animal even mentioned by name is the female porpoise.
And that choice, Chen argues, serves two purposes. First, it helps concentrate his description. It removes any external domestic distractions. And second, this isolation really emphasizes male heroism.
The isolated nature of the struggle.
The struggle between the old man, the boy, and nature itself. This concentration means the few elements that are present have to carry immense symbolic weight.
Okay, let's break down the major symbols Chen identifies. We're moving beyond just the objects themselves to their thematic functions.
Chen maps them out very systematically. The boy, Manolin, he symbolizes the new hope. He's the future, the affirmation of Santiago's legacy.
And the old man.
Santiago symbolizes the road to struggle for life. He's the process of enduring. Then you have the sea, which symbolizes a struggling environment. It's vast, beautiful, but ultimately indifferent to human effort.
And finally, the fish, the marlin.
The marlin symbolizes the instinct activities of ordinary creature in nature.
Why is that last one so important? That the marlin is just instinct.
I think it's crucial because it stops the fish from becoming a simple, evil bad guy. Like Moby Dick could be seen. Chen's interpretation emphasizes that the marlin is just acting out its natural role.
Just like Santiago is acting out his.
Exactly, his human role as a fisherman. And that whole setup establishes the basis for the brotherhood theme that's so important later on.
Which brings us back to that massive word phosphorescence that Chen said was so intentional. Its symbolic location is key. Santiago is in the deepest part of the sea, what the fishermen call the Great Well, 700 fathoms deep.
And this happens during the hardest and darkest time. It's before dawn, on his 85th day without a fish. It's the lowest point.
And that's when he sees it.
That's when he sees it. The phosphorescence shining faintly in the deepest, darkest water. For Chen, it symbolizes two things: the mystery of the ocean and, most importantly, the light of hope for the old man in that most desolate period.
It's an external sign of his internal state.
I think so. Because this light reinforces that while Santiago is physically ruined, he has deep wrinkles, scars from handling heavy fish. His eyes, the color of the sea, are still described as cheerful and undefeated. The hope is spiritual, not physical.
That enduring spirit, that brings us right to the heroic impulse. Chen says Santiago's hope really rests on Manolin, who's going to succeed him.
Yes, that relationship ensures the heroic impulse is handed down from one generation to another.
Manolin is the practical side of that, the passing of knowledge.
He is. But Santiago's confidence, his ability to endure those 84 days, it isn't built just on hope. It's built on a synthesis of spiritual will and rational technique.
Ah, so it's not enough just to want to live.
No. Chen makes a strong case that you have to have the learned skill, the technique, to live successfully.
The spiritual drive has to be fueled by professional preparedness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Chen quotes Santiago's own thoughts to prove it. It's that line that defines the balance perfectly. It is better to be lucky, but I would rather be exact than when luck comes, you are ready.
So you make your own luck by being prepared.
You do. The professional and psychological preparation, the technique, that's the foundation that lets the will express itself heroically.
And this professional mastery is what allows for that really unique brotherhood theme that Chen talks about. Santiago fights the fish in what Chen calls a forgiving, sympathetic, and even respectable mood.
Right, there's no bitterness,
Yeah.
no animosity or hatred in the struggle.
Because the fish is just being a fish.
It's fulfilling its own heroic role, just as Santiago is fulfilling his. They're bound together by the natural order. And Chen highlights that incredible line, Santiago speaks directly to the marlin.
Oh, this one is just, it's everything.
I love you and respect you very much, but I will kill you dead before this day ends.
That's the ultimate paradox of conflict, isn't it? Love and destruction as two parts of the same destiny.
It is. And Chen analyzes this unity, arguing that this sense of brotherhood and love actually transcends the destructive act of killing. It establishes a profound harmony of the natural universe.
The dignity of the struggle is achieved because he respects his opponent.
He recognizes the nobility of his opponent. That's the key.
So if we tie all of this to the deeper theme, Chen argues the whole story centers on one concept: human dignity.
Yes, Santiago's heroic effort expands the light of human dignity and courage. For the old man, the greatest fear isn't death, and it's not poverty either.
His greatest fear is the social and spiritual degradation of being. Salau.
Salau. We need to pause on that.
So what does Salau mean, really, in this context? Why is it worse than death for him?
Salau is defined as the worst form of unlucky. It's more than just a bad streak. It applies a social stigma, a kind of spiritual failure. It suggests you've lost your effectiveness, your worth, within your own community.
I see.
So Chen emphasizes that for Santiago, the loss of dignity that comes with being Salau is a far, far worse fate than physical ruin. He has to conquer the big fish to reestablish his status and satisfy this profound need for human dignity.
And this leads us to the ultimate paradox that Chen addresses so brilliantly. Santiago does it. He achieves the dignity he sought through technique and will. He conquers the great fish,
He wins.
but then the sharks arrive, the mako, then the galanos. And they systematically destroy the marlin until the physical reality is that the winner takes nothing.
He returns with only a skeleton.
And this moment of destruction is crucial for Chen's argument, isn't it?
It's everything, because it forces you, the reader, to separate the material result from the spiritual victory. The sharks only prove that Santiago's work can be destroyed, not his will.
The outcome of the fight, the loss of the meat, is secondary to the act of fighting with dignity.
Which brings us right back to that rhythmic quote Chen isolated, the one that defines the undefeated soul.
Yes.
Indeed. Chen summarizes the core lesson that Hemingway leaves us with. The fate and the unknown law of nature is sometimes beyond a man's power, but the true braver acts according to what he thinks right. And then, of course, a man can be destroyed, but not defeated.
The loss of the fish only proves he could be physically ruined. But because he acted according to his code, his professional, moral, heroic code, his will and spirit stayed whole.
He achieved a victory that transcends what happened in the harbor. He was, as Chen puts it, at one with all, because he recognized that universal harmony of the struggle.
The skeleton, the boy's absolute devotion to learning from him, Santiago dreaming in the lions at the end, they are the symbolic evidence of that spiritual victory.
The battle itself was the proof of his worth. The destruction was just the final stage of the ritual, not the defeat.
What a deep dive into the sheer intentionality behind Hemingway's minimalism. I think Chichang Shen's powerful message for us is that Hemingway's simple style is just fundamentally loaded with symbolism and professional rigor. The core lesson of Santiago's struggle really is less about catching the fish and everything about maintaining dignity, preparation, and will, even when you're facing overwhelming destructive forces.
And Chen argues that Santiago achieved this state in transcending reality, where, for him, the so-called success or failure, gain or loss is the same. He found his victory in the resolution, not in the outcome.
So a final provocative thought for you to carry forward from this.
If the true measure of victory is found in the resolution and the technique you apply to the struggle, where in your own life is the effort, that 85th day of trying, actually more valuable than the final result.
Something profound to consider as you face your next big challenge. We hope this deep dive into technique, dignity, and the undefeated soul of Santiago has armed you with a renewed perspective on preparation and perseverance. Until next time, stay well informed.